Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Hello and happy Sunday to you. Glad you're with us for Local 24 This Week, which now is brought to you twice on Sundays at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. So you have two opportunities to get the real story behind the big stories. Later, I'll be joined by MLK 50's Wendy C. Thomas to talk about the change her reporting helped bring about at Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare when it comes to their debt collection practices and what it pays its employees. But first, the topics for our roundtable today. We'll talk about the Memphis mayor's race. Now 2 months away, this week some verbal jabs coming from challenger Willie Harrington against the incumbent Jim Strickland, who responded, while candidate Tammy Sawyer is challenging both men to show up and debate. Also, it looks like Congressman Steve Cohen will have a challenger in next year's primary. Not to be left out, the state of Mississippi, which on Tuesday holds its primary election. The most hotly contested race is to be the Republican nominee for governor of that state, while Tennessee's governor is reacting to allegations swirling around him in passing his school voucher law. And we'll talk about the road rage crackdown, 2 weeks into a significant uptick in patrols to reduce violence on the city's highways. The Memphis PD touts new numbers suggesting it's a tremendous success, at least so far. But let's get to the roundtable first by introducing them to you. Otis Sanford is Local 24's political analyst and commentator, and Ryan Poe works for the Commercial Appeal. He's a columnist and writes the 901 every morning. So we got a lot to get to, so we'll waste any time here. The Memphis mayor's race, we had the back and forth between Willie Harrington and Jim Strickland on crime. Willie Harrington saying that Jim's not doing enough, the mayor's not doing enough, and Jim Strickland retorting, well, you weren't too successful when you were mayor either. In fact, I'm cleaning up your mess, basically. Yeah. And of course, Tammy Sawyer, we'll talk about her in a minute. But where do you think this is all going in terms of how ugly it might get over the next 2 months? Ryan, we'll start with you.
I think it shows really that you are coming down to the last 2 months of the election. It's the final stretch, and yes, I fully expect them to ramp up these kind of attacks, especially because, you know, like it's for Tammy Sawyer especially, name recognition is a major problem. For Harrington, the problem is not name recognition, it's that he needs to show people that the current mayor is not doing a good job. So Tammy has a lot more upside, I think. That Harrington, his goal is to kind of attack what Mayor Strickland has been doing, which is the smart play at this moment for him. But yeah, I expect much more attacks.
Well, you know, another issue that Harrington brought up recently was the Tom Lee Park controversy, in which we wanted to ask Tammy Sawyer what her thoughts were on that. She said, that's not my issue, I'm not going to comment on it. Well, we did get some comment from her this week, but basically the whole notion of not commenting about something that's not your issue, that struck me as something new. I haven't seen that before. Usually candidates don't get to define what the issues are.
They really don't. And if you're a serious candidate, all the issues are your issues. You're not going to be an area mayor or a district mayor or an issues mayor. You're going to be the mayor. And so I thought it was a real bad decision for her to say that's not my issue, because if she were to be elected the mayor, she has to deal with that issue. But right now, the way I see it, it appears that Dr. Harrington believes that this is going to be a fight between him and Jim Strickland. And really, I think Jim Strickland is feeling that way too. That's why he fired back the other day and said that, and talked about the mayor's tenure, which was long, almost 18 years, and said, I'm now cleaning up your mess. He also responded with the Tom Lee criticism by saying that the renovations will go forward. Memphis in May will have to move in 2021, but it is a temporary thing. So he is responding to some of the things that Dr. Harrington is saying, and because I think both of them think this is a two-person race at this point.
I want to ask you about the possibility that we won't have a debate before this mayoral election. It seems like a very real possibility. I know the Commercial Appeal has announced that it plans to have a debate, but right now you only have one candidate that said yes, right?
Yes, well, and a tentative commitment from Mayor Strickland.
Yes. Right, so that would be unfortunate. I just think that, that the public needs to see the candidates up there and defend themselves on their issues.
I couldn't agree more. I opined about this this week actually in my column, that debates, whatever you may think, you know, some people have very good arguments for why debates are actually, it's just a cat fight, it's just WWE style, you know, who can game the system the most. I get all that, but at the same time, debates show people, the people, who candidates are under pressure And it also, I think, is you know, puts their ideas under pressure. And I think that's very, very important for Memphis right now. We have 3 very different candidates in the top spots, but we really need a real debate about ideas. So that's what I think.
We talked about this before we started. Willie Harrington is basically the holdout here, and we're trying to get a debate together as well and finding the same thing. Yeah. Do you think the former mayor will come around?
Well, I mean, if history is any indication, I don't think so. He hasn't done a debate, as I recall, since 1999, 20 years ago.
I think he did try with Cohen, though.
Well, yeah, he tried with Cohen, but that was...
Cohen didn't.
Yeah, Cohen didn't want to do that one. But for the mayor's race, yeah, Brian is right. In 2015, there was a substantive debate with Strickland and A.C. Warden, Mike Williams, and Harold Collins. And I think that the public benefited from that debate. I believe Strickland benefited from that debate. And there were other debates in 2009 when A.C. Warden won, and may have been one in 2011. I just think that debates where you can say that sometimes they don't bring out anything. I think in a local election like this, debates are very helpful for people.
You pick up intangibles, even if there is a lot of carping back and forth. I think body language, a lot of things that voters pick up on that we don't give them credit for. Right. You brought up Congressman Cohen. It looks like he's going to have someone challenging him for the Democratic nomination in the next year's congressional election. Corey Strong, the former Shelby County Democratic Party chair, announcing that he plans to take on Cohen. What do you guys think, Otis?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think what Corey Strong can say as he goes out and tries to campaign, look, I'm the one that brought the local Democratic Party back to life because it was struggling. You recall that it lost its charter and all of that. Well, when he was the chair, it was in 2018, as I recall. That's when the Democrats had their strongest showing, especially in countywide races. So he can say that. But again, he has a real tough task to go against an entrenched incumbent and a very influential incumbent like Steve Cohen, who's always on television. He's people in Congress like him. This is going to be a heavy lift for Corey Strong.
Yeah. One thing I think about the race is that Corey Strong has said that he's going to be focusing on jobs, the lack of jobs in the 9th Congressional District, which I think is a very smart move because that's basically the western half of Memphis. And that area needs economic development. They need jobs. So I think he's going to be able to consolidate a lot of that anti-Cohen support, but also maybe pull some of those people who are living there who see, you know, that their area is not growing. Their area is not.
Would you not agree a mayor can have a lot more impact on that than a congressman can?
It's very true, yes. And I don't think that Corey really gave, he's going to make an issue of jobs. I don't think that congressmen can do a lot for jobs.
Right. That's the way I see it, too. It's a good issue to bring up, especially when you have an electorate that may not know that the mayor has more impact on it than a congressman. But in the end, it's going to be, again, very tough for him to do that.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to pause for a minute. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of governor's races, and the Tennessee governor is trying to push aside a controversy that's swirling at the state capitol. We'll be right back.
Everyone who has ever lived has lived here. All of mankind's triumphs and failures. Every moment, every hometown, all here. We start our coverage on the ground and take it to the airwaves, so you always know what's happening in your own world and beyond. We are free TV and radio. We are breaking news. We are always there. We are broadcasters.
It's the flashback sale at Mattress Firm. We're celebrating the year we were founded with a special price from 1986. A flashback price of $169 on a new Sleepy's Queen mattress. Plus, for a limited time, get up to $400 on throwback deals. And Wednesday through Sunday only, take home a free adjustable base. Up to a $699 value, absolutely free. But hurry in, these awesome blast from the past savings won't last forever. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
Honey, this geek speed internet is ridiculously fast.
We are seriously keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Fords. Keeping up with the Garcias.
The Romeros.
Patels.
Willans.
Right.
No one's gonna have internet like this.
Xfinity makes keeping up with the Joneses simple, easy, awesome.
Check out Gig Speed Internet or any of our other amazing speed options. Get started now for as low as $20 a month for 12 months. Plus, see how you can save hundreds when you get internet and mobile together. Click, call, or visit a store today.
When our veterans thrive, our communities thrive. With your support, our veterans can get career and education opportunities as well as benefits they've earned.
I'm Senator Marsha Blackburn. Our veterans have given Tennessee so much, and it's time to do something for them. Find out how you can support them right in your community.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
As we record this on a Friday afternoon, some sound just into us from Memphis International Airport, where Governor Bill Lee was promoting the big announcement that FedEx is going to be expanding big time at the airport. And Mike Matthews asked him the question about this controversy that's swirling around you, that you somehow had a hand, or some of your staff did, in offering to promote one of the state lawmakers to a general position of general in the Tennessee National Guard if he would vote for your school voucher bill. Right. And this just continues to build and build. Most of it surrounding the House Speaker, Glenn Cassada, but Governor Lee has found himself in the thick of this as well. But he was pretty direct in his answer to Mike today. Let's watch.
I just want to say, I want to be real clear about this. Our administration has had nothing to do with inappropriate conversations, interactions. That's not the way I operate. That's not the way my administration is going to operate. And I'm not aware of any of the the facts around that situation. We certainly have not participated in any of that.
We certainly have not participated in any of that. That's the line people are going to remember if they find out otherwise.
Well, it is. Now, he did leave himself a little bit of a wiggle room by saying I was not aware of anything going on. But when I look into Governor Bill Lee's face on that soundbite, Richard, I see a pretty angry individual when it comes to these allegations. And you know that it took him a long time to come around to saying that Cassada needed to step down. But when he finally did it, he was pretty direct in that and saying if he worked for me, he wouldn't be there. I think this makes him even more angry that he's being dragged into what is clearly a scandal involving Cassada, and he just does not like that.
Well, and Cassada is saying, you know, I wouldn't be able to do that. That would be the executive branch that would do that.
So he's throwing the governor into this.
Yeah, I imagine the governor's not too happy.
No, he is not happy.
And Cassada is supposed to resign today from his position, which I'm not aware has happened yet, but nonetheless, it continues to get interesting in Nashville. Yeah. What do you think of the governor's response?
I would be very surprised if Governor Bill Lee had anything to do with directly offering anything. I would be very surprised. But for his administration, someone in his administration, I don't know that I would be that surprised because, let's be real, that kind of thing happens a good bit in any state legislature, but Tennessee's as well. So.
And remember that this was his signature bill. I mean, he had a lot riding on the passage of the school voucher bill. He campaigned for it, campaigned in favor of it, and he tried to ride it all the way through the legislature. I kind of agree with Ryan. I would not be surprised if some underling may have done it, but he was pretty adamant there that he wasn't aware of it and it wouldn't happen in his administration. We'll just have to see.
So switching to Mississippi and the governor's race there, Tuesday is the primary, and the one that is getting a lot of attention, or at least where there's a lot of ad spending, is the one for the GOP race for governor. You have a Lieutenant Governor, well, the favorite is Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves, the first man you see there, followed by former State Supreme Court Chief Justice Bill Waller and State Representative from Hernando, Robert Foster. Boy, when you compare the money raised in this race so far, Reeves is at almost $6 million. Waller is somewhere around $350,000, and Foster is got only about $20,000 on hand. It kind of gives you an indication how this probably is going to go Tuesday, not to mention the fact that Reeves has the endorsement of the incumbent.
Right, that's exactly right. I see this as Reeves kind of pulling away from this. Bill Waller Jr., whose father was governor, although he was a Democratic governor back in the 70s, just has not gotten the kind of traction that he would need to win the primary. I just see this as Reeves' election here.
I do think they are going to go to a runoff based on the latest polling I saw. Reeves had 41%, I think, and Waller had 31.
Yeah.
But I do think that in the runoff, most of Foster's support is going to go to Reeves, so I think he will end up winning probably.
Right. Right. And then that sets up a contest with the Attorney General, Jim Hood, who is one of the few Democrats holding statewide office in the South.
Right.
Maybe not the only one. With the senator from Alabama, but not very many. Right. And that's going to be quite a contest, I think.
Well, I think it will, because Jim Hood is fairly popular. He's the only Democrat to have been elected in Mississippi in the past 16 years. And he has done some things down there that is very moderate to conservative. He's taken on some big causes and been very successful in doing it. You notice in his campaign ads, he doesn't even mention the word Democrat, and why should he? But I think that the African-American vote, you mentioned earlier, you got, 40% of the state population is African-American. There's a lot of voters down there. He will likely get all of those, but it's still going to be a tough one because it's still a red state.
I agree, and you saw it with Tennessee and Bredesen. I think that people are more polarized than ever. Republicans are voting Republican, Democrats are voting Democrat. If that happens in Mississippi, I think Jim Hood could be in trouble.
Last thing I want to talk about, fellas, is the road rage crackdown. MPD putting out some numbers that are pretty impressive, that since they started this 2 weeks ago on our highways, they have been able to keep any shootings from happening. There have been 0. 6,200 drivers stopped, 3,919 tickets written, and 134 people arrested. And I was kind of impressed with the top cop. Mike Rawlings was among those, saying, I've been out there too, and I've pulled over some people as well. They're paying a lot of overtime to make this happen. Do you think people support it?
Oh, I think people support it. Mike Rawlings came to the Rotary Club 2 or 3 weeks ago and talked about it there. People there supported it. You know, I drive the interstates quite often. I was doing it today over on the on I-240, on the Bill Morris Parkway, on the Sam Cooper Parkway. You see cops everywhere, and this, to me, it's a good thing, because the speed limit is being observed for the most part, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm all in favor of it.
You have a little bit of lead foot, though. It's kind of frustrating.
It is. I was going to say, I think there's begrudging support. But I do kind of wonder, though. I mean, those are some impressive numbers. I do wonder how many. I mean, is that really where we need the officers the most? We had how many highway shootings was
there
it?
There had been 32.
Yeah, we
32.
Got a lot.
But compare that to the shootings from the rest of the city. How much of an emphasis are we putting on the real problem? And anyway, I'm not saying it's wrong to police the interstate. I just mean, I just wonder if it's the best.
Could they be deployed
allocation?
Well, to respond to that, I mean, if you're on the interstate and shootings are on the interstate, you got a confined area where you know things are happening.
That is true.
The other shootings and homicides around the city, you have no way to deal with that. That's a reactive thing. I think this is a proactive measure that I think a lot of people do support. Lead foot or no lead foot, they're going to be supporting this.
And I also think that one reason why they have to do what they're doing now is because for so long it seemed like they did not patrol the interstate. I think they pulled police off the interstates.
That's right, they did.
For that very reason, that they were emphasizing the crime and the more, the city streets kind of thing. So I think it's kind of an overemphasis probably now.
Well,
but
getting the buy-in from the Sheriff's Department and the Tennessee Highway Patrol helps a little, because it's not all on Memphis to try and keep that from happening. All right, we're going to take a break. Thanks, you two, for being here. When I come back, I'm going to be with Wendy C. Thomas talking about her big story on Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare right after this.
CoverGirl True Blend Matte Made Foundation. It's transfer resistant, so it stays on you and nothing else. From CoverGirl. Pair it with a new True Blend Undercover Concealer, a lightweight full coverage formula in 30 shades. From CoverGirl.
First 6-function multi-pro tailgate, available only on the next generation GMC Sierra. Step up to GMC and get over $10,000 total value on this next generation 2019 Sierra Crew Cab SLT. Or get 20% below MSRP on these 2019 Double Cab and SLE Crew Cab models with a traditional tailgate.
America's veterans are more than a source of pride. They're a source of strength. When our veterans thrive, our communities thrive. With your support, our veterans can get career and education opportunities as well as benefits they've earned.
Hello, I'm Congressman David Custall. Join me in thanking our nation's veterans. They've given so much in service to our country. Find out how you can support veterans in our community.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Join Local 24 Cares and the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis to help us stuff the bus. You can donate school supplies at any area Sam's Club and the Academy Sports and Outdoors at Giacosta Place until August 9th. Start the school year off right. And thanks to our participating sponsors for their support.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
All right, now for my one-on-one segment with the founder and publisher of MLK 50, Wendy C. Thomas, whose journalism over the past several weeks has led to significant change this week by one of this city's largest employers. I'm talking about Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. Wendy, thank you as always for being here.
Thank you.
Nice having you on the show. So this is just a fascinating story for me because as journalists, we always want to do good journalism, and when you see that it instigates some change, it's very rewarding.
It is.
Tell me how you came across this story. How did it even, what's the genesis of it?
Right, so I was reading a story written by Paul Keel of ProPublica about racialized bankruptcy in Memphis. And there was a line in that story that talked about medical debt being a contributor to bankruptcy, people filing bankruptcy. And so there might have been a footnote on it, or maybe in the white paper they wrote to accompany the story, some information about General Sessions court records. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, tell me more. And that's kind of how we got started.
When did you know I've got something here?
Probably as soon as he sent the data. You know, I think he said, you know, I think there's really a story here, but the story he was writing really wasn't about that. It was about bankruptcy. So I just kind of went from there, and I reported on this for more than a year before I joined ProPublica's local reporting network, just trying to chip away at it.
To the folks at home, ProPublica, what is that? Most folks don't even know what it is.
Well, ProPublica is an investigative reporting newsroom in New York, and their whole purpose is to write and report stories that have a moral force. So they're looking to investigate abuses of power in places where people are being exploited or taken advantage of.
And they help fund your research efforts and journalistic efforts in that story. So that's something that is growing in this country, where it's not maybe the traditional news organizations necessarily that are writing these kinds of stories, but it's efforts like this through your MLK 50 website too.
Yeah, partnerships across the country are going on like this. And I think it's in part because investigative reporting takes a lot of time and it's very expensive. And so as news organizations are shrinking, they just don't have the resources to invest. They have the reporters with the talent and the inclination, but they may not have the outlet itself may not have the resources.
So the change that you helped instigate is that we now know that Methodist Le Bonheur, despite some fairly aggressive debt collection practices in the past, now says it will not sue anymore its poorest patients, which is in line with what a lot of other faith-based hospitals around the country do. They've also said they're going to raise the minimum wage of all that. No one will make less than $15 an hour.
Starting in 2021.
It'll take them a while to get up to speed or whatever, and we know that is an issue for employers. It's not as easy as it sounds necessarily. Are you happy with that? Do you think there more needs to be done? Do you think Methodist has done all it can?
So, you know, I think Methodist deserves credit for what they have done. They're also not going to be adding interest and charging attorney fees to the defendants that they do decide to sue.
And that's a biggie too. You had one woman who had an amazing amount of interest tacked onto her bill.
Yeah, her hospital bill itself, just the hospital charges were initially about $12,000. With attorney fees and interest, she now owes $33,000. And that's just astounding. And she makes, I think, $9.50 an hour at Kroger. So she's never going to be able to pay off that debt. So taking back those interest and the attorney's fees is going to be major for a lot of people. And so I think that's a good thing, and they deserve credit for that. However, there are lots of nonprofit hospitals across the country that have decided we're not going to sue patients at all. It is inconsistent with our mission, particularly as a faith-based institution, that's supposed to be providing health care to create situations that are toxic financially for their patients. Methodist stopped short of doing that, but they could have.
Mm-hmm. So, and what happens to all the patients like the woman you described who has this mountain of debt that she's accumulated, has incurred all these legal fees, or people who are already in the system and are being sued right now before this announcement? What happens to them?
That's not really clear to me. Methodist had a media call the other day and issued a press release, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Methodist attorney was in court on Wednesday, and he had questions. The judge was like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on either. What I've seen in court is that defendants that are coming in who already have a judgment against them, who are have submitted motions to pay less, to pay a smaller amount, maybe they were paying $100 and they want to pay $50, or they were paying $100 and they want to pay $25. What I've seen is that Methodist attorneys are approving all of those motions. They're not approving them, but they're accepting them. They're not contesting them. And so people have been able to lower their court-ordered payments dramatically. Whether Methodist will continue to do that, it's not clear. I've asked Methodist these questions and others, and they have not been forthcoming throughout this entire reporting process.
They're not happy with you, are they?
I don't know if they're not happy. I don't think anyone likes being the subject of this degree of attention, but you know, journalists, we're not here necessarily to make powerful institutions happy. I think many of us get into this career because we want to focus on the people who are being harmed, who don't have lobbyists, who don't have executives making millions of dollars, and that's the kind of journalism that I like to do, and the kind of journalism that MLK 50 exists to do.
All right, well, good work. Congratulations on the story, and I can't wait to see what you do next. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
When you hire Nahon Saharovich and Trotz to handle your serious car or truck wreck case, we get right down to business by sending out our rapid response team with all the resources. Hurt in a car or truck wreck? Think fast. Call Team NST today.
This week, save big on what your child needs for the new school year. Staples, back to school and beyond.
About half of the country's private sector workforce.
Here's coffee.
Thanks so much.
When you shop at local small businesses, you help the entire community thrive.
Hello, I'm Congressman David Custall. Small businesses unite our community and they bolster our local economy. Shop local and help spur innovation and job creation in West Tennessee.
Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I am a nurse,
a firefighter, a college student,
a mother, and I am an American soldier. I will always be ready
for every storm and disaster that threatens my community. I will always be there to protect my neighbors,
my family,
and my country.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
Join Local 24 Cares and the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis to help us stuff the bus. You can donate school supplies at any area Sam's Club and the Academy Sports and Outdoors at Giacosta Place until August 9th. Start the school year off right. And thanks to our participating sponsors for their support.
This year, the city of Memphis and Shelby County honor 200 years while embracing the next 100 years to come. Join in as we celebrate our new century of soul.
Local 24 is a proud supporting partner of A New Century of Soul.
My thanks to Wendy. My thanks to you for watching. We'll see you next time for Local 24 this week.